very strong indeed.
David's find reveals how reinforcements were constructed around the existing keep at Tortosa. This second wall created a passage where archers could hide to defend the inner fortifications. In combination with the talus, the keep within the castle at Tortosa was now impregnable. But despite the unparalleled fortifications, the Templars were unable to resist the tide of the Muslim forces who wanted to sweep them out of the Holy Land. By the end of the 13th century, every Templar castle had fallen, except Tortosa. But without their network of castles, the Templars were doomed. Realizing all was lost, they retreated to a tiny island less than a mile from Tortosa. Their wealth, secrecy, and brutality were about to come back to haunt them. By 1291, the Templars had failed in their task to defend the Christian territories of the Holy Land. Their seemingly impregnable fortresses had fallen. The Templars were pushed back to the coast, to Tortosa, the only castle they still held. But without their once great network, this castle too would soon fall. The Templars were left with little choice but to escape.
Tortosa became pointless in a way and indefensible. So in August of 1291, the Templars got on their boats and sailed away.
The Templars sailed to the island of Cyprus. This was a secure base where they could regroup, ready to launch an attack on the mainland to retake Tortosa and the castle network. They assembled a fleet of ships designed to transport the knights to the mainland. Horses would be essential to this new assault, and the Templar ships were designed to transport up to 30 animals each. But the journey by sea from Cyprus to Tortosa is over 100 miles. Transporting horses over this distance would be challenging.
Horses get seasick just like humans do. Unlike humans, horses can't throw up, and that causes a problem.
Launching an attack with sick horses would be disastrous, so the Templars needed a staging point for the animals to recover. Less than a mile off the coast of Tortosa is the island of Ruad.
If you have Ruad, you can bring the horses by transport and take them off, rest them up, then put them back on the ship and take them the mile or so over to the mainland, and they won't be in bad shape when you get there.
In 1300, the Knights Templar set sail for Ruad Island with a huge garrison of 120 knights and 500 archers, ready to launch the attack.
Templars came back here in force, intending to use it as a beachhead to retake Tortosa and then the entire mainland.
The only territory in the Holy Land now held by the Knights Templar was Ruad, an island less than half a mile across.
Imagine having held all of that, the coastline that we can see, having been in the city of Tortosa, the cathedral, Crac de Chevalier, Chastel Rouge, Chastel Blanc, all of those great structures in those networks of castles across the hinterland, and having lost them all, having been reduced to possessing an island only slightly larger than the dimensions of the city of Tortosa.
But in 1302, things went from bad to worse for the Knights Templar. A Muslim force got wind of their garrison on Ruad, threatening the mainland. They launched an amphibious attack.
Made contact on 2 points on the island, attacked the Templars and their infantry, drove the Templars back to a castle, a fortress, possibly this one on this end of the island, and separated them from their infantry. And there was fierce house-to-house fighting in the narrow alleyways and the buildings that were on the island.
Realizing the game was up, the Knights Templar surrendered. Their last foothold had fallen to the enemy. The era of the Templars as defenders of the Holy Land was over. Back in Europe, they were held to account.
Their vocation was to defend the holy places, and they'd failed. I mean, everybody's poured all this money in over centuries now on the basis that they would guard the Christian places. It hasn't worked.
The reputation of the once great Templars was now in tatters. On Friday, 13th October 1307, the King of France ordered their arrest.
He accused them of denying Christ, spitting on the cross, urinating on the cross. He accused them of homosexual practices. He accused them of worshipping idols, of worshipping heads.
Their mysterious rituals were challenged, in particular the secret reception ceremony where new knights were sworn into the Brotherhood.
There were mutterings about what could possibly be happening behind these closed doors. If it was a good thing, like the Templars said, and holy and honest, why can't we go in to see? They must be up to something horrible and obscene in there that they want to keep a secret. There's no smoke without fire.
The Templars were interrogated under brutal torture.
There's one record of a Templar priest whose feet were held over a fire, and the soles of his feet were burned until a few days later the bones fell out. There were other Templars who were hung from the ceilings of dungeons and had weights attached to their feet or even their sensitive private parts, and then dropped.
These broken men confessed to everything from idol worship to sodomy.
We know that today you can make a man suffer enough that you can make him say anything. And that fact alone makes historians suspect that the charges against the Templars were not true.
In March 1314, the Templars were found guilty en masse. The Grand Master was burned at the stake, and the knights disbanded. When an organization as big, grand, and powerful as this one falls, conspiracy theories will inevitably develop. The most enduring myth is that of the Holy Grail and the Templars' quest to find it. It has gripped Western imagination more than any other legend.
In the trial proceedings, in the interrogations, this thing isn't mentioned. If the Templars had had it in their possession, this would have come to light in the trial proceedings. It's not mentioned at all.
The destruction of their records in the 16th century by Turkish invaders means there will always be an air of mystery about the Knights Templar.
The Templars' obsession with secrecy and their interest in relics and arcane rituals means that in many respects they're their own worst enemy. They go from the heroes of Christendom and they fall and they're the bad guys.
Today, everyone knows the Knights Templar for the mystique that surrounds them. But their buildings defended the Holy Land for almost 200 years. Now they're slowly crumbling into the landscape. And so it seems the mythical status of the Templars will outlive their lost world.